everybody, it's me, John Ward, and welcome back to another One Filmmaker, One Film. And today I have two awesome guests on, and they are...
Jamie Bailey, international man of mystery.
And Simon Phillips, international woman of mystery. Oh, damn it.
Oh,
I knew I should have gone first.
And we are here today to discuss the film The Mousetrap. And which I've already heard there's going to be a sequel. Is that correct?
There is indeed. Yes, I've just penned the script. Simon's reading it as we speak.
Well, not
nice.
literally speak.
You're not? You told me that you were.
Oh, okay. Excuse me if you have to ask me a question twice whilst I read this.
We're absolutely definitely making a sequel for sure. Yeah, and the sequel is going to be bigger than the first one.
Okay, because I'm hoping I at the end of the Mousetrap, just let people know there is a credit. There's a sequence after the credits, so they should watch that just in case they don't go through all the credits. They should. So because I got a list here. I got my questions and stuff, and so I'll be asking you questions if these things are in the sequel. You don't have to answer them. You don't have to give spoilers, but just these are things that I'm curious about. So.
Right.
And Jamie, what did you do on this film?
Oh, I directed the movie. I was the cinematographer for the movie, and I was the editor of the movie. So it was Simon's idea. He wrote the script. We both make these things together. We made about 7 movies the past couple of years. There's no one way to do it, but in this one, it was Simon's baby. And we brought it to life very quickly. He had the idea in August. We shot in September, October, up until the end of the year. Really, total shoot days, but 8. And we bring that baby to life.
Sweet. And so, Simon, what did you do on this film? Let people know.
Like Jamie said, we both co-produced it together, or both produced it together, whatever the right way to say that is. I think we think of it as like we're both two filmmakers. So I wrote it, I produced it. I played Mickey in it. The guy in the mask is me all the time. But we do whatever job needs doing at the time. Jamie's probably selling himself short by just saying he directed and edited it. There's a lot that goes into every film. So and we make them together, to be honest. So.
And these all these movies are they're all miracles, really. Each one, like the fact that any movie gets made is a small miracle. So yeah, we just kind of for the passion of it, do it, and we wear like 1,000 hats. Simon could be in the middle of a scene getting murdered or murdering somebody or both, and then he's ordering Uber Eats for the crew.
For lunch. What needs doing right at that minute? Yeah.
Yeah. I thought it was funny is you got the Simon, you have the mask on, the Mickey Mouse mask, but your beard is sticking out.
Yeah. That's I accidentally in the course of the movie ripped the mask. Maybe it was ripped a little bit to begin with because those things aren't designed for breathing. And it gradually got bigger as the movie went on, and we're getting more and more fight sequences. The mask wasn't fun to wear. I say that I've got it right next to me as well. Yeah.
Oh, sweet. That's so. Who made the mask?
So the mask is made by Jessie Edwards, who's the production designer, but she amended an old vintage Mickey Mouse mask. But we had to make the mask so that we had to make the mask so that it didn't resemble a modern day Mickey Mouse. So it was an older Mickey Mouse. So you can see this guy here. So
you got it encased.
Well, awesome. Yeah, it's going to be valuable one day. We hope. So it had to be black and white. There's no eyes, and the costume, he couldn't have the white gloves, the red jumpsuit. So it all had to be bespoke, So it had to be like the old 1928 Steamboat Willie Mickey Mouse. So it had to look a certain way. So Jessie Edwards was responsible for that.
But we did have to start with one that already existed and then customize it. And how we did that, Simon, do you remember? We actually broke into Disneyland.
That's
and
right.
We found some guy playing Mickey Mouse, and we decapitated him.
Yeah.
And stole his head. Yes, that's a true story.
That is how it was done. Yeah.
Well, you have to. I mean that's how things are done. Kind of like Tim Burton's Ed Wood when they break into the like the movie warehouse and they steal all the props to go make Bride of the Monster. Sometimes you just got to do that if you got to break into Disneyland or Disney World or whatever it is to
Well,
do it.
we're already stealing their IP, so we thought it was just totally fitting to actually decapitate one of their.
Whatever cuts the budget down. Actually, on this movie, we actually also kill the actors because that was cheaper than actually having to pay their invoice at the end of it.
And less money on special effects too, because they're really everyone that got killed in it actually got killed, so you don't have to use fake blood.
I was wondering, is the effects are really good in this, you know, and there is the another decapitation, and so that's nice that they won't come back, so then you don't have to pay them for anything. Yeah,
it's
no sequels, no nothing.
Very nice that she won't come back. Yeah, no. That's a joy. That's one of the joys that we have on making a sequel.
Well, I was telling you before we started this, and all the people know who are watching. I've seen this now 4 times, and I really enjoy this movie. And there are certain reasons why I may like it. Let's just say more than somebody else. So I almost have a personal connection to this. And it's I've never met you guys before. You know, we just met on Facebook, but out here in Las Vegas, we have the same type of kind of like kid adult playground type of thing that has laser tag and all the games. And I worked on 3 films that were shot in that same location. So we did Live Escape, which is a Joe Lujan film. And
I know Joe. I didn't realize you knew Joe.
You know Joe Lujan?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Joe Lujan and I were very good friends. Yeah, I act in his films, and I'm a crew member. I do his sound, and we work a lot together. Yeah, we're going to be shooting soon again on one of his films.
I like Joe. You can't stop Joe. He's unstoppable.
Oh, he is. He's a one-man machine. So, yeah. And then when we got done shooting that, I worked with Will Colazo on Night of the Zomghouls, same location, which is like a Five Nights at Freddy's type thing. And then Joe said, well, we're going to make another zombie film. So we went back to the same location again and shot this. So I've shot or worked on 3 movies in one of these same places that you guys shot The Mousetrap. So while I'm watching the film, I'm like, I've been in that type of place. I've been there too. I know what this is. And so I'm watching this maybe from a different perspective than somebody else would, because I've shot here. It's like, I recognized all of these, all the little toys and stuff that you can win. And so that was really cool to me. And at the very end, you have listed Mark Popejoy, who I've also worked with.
Oh, good.
I worked with him on a couple movies. And of course, in one of the scenes, you see in the background, it says zombies, which would go back to like the Live Escape, Live Survival. And for me, this was just like, this is my movie. I want to interview these guys. I want to talk to them about this because it's a very similar experience from what I've seen. And the way that it was written and the way that it was directed is, I'm going like, that's how I would shoot this. That shot is how I would do it. Oh, that line of dialogue. Oh, that is great. I would, that's how I, so it's like, there is somehow this weird connection that I have, that if I were to make The Mousetrap, it would look very similar. The lighting, the editing, the directing, even like the cast that's in there, it was very interesting to me. And I don't mean for that to sound weird or anything, but it's just like, I've never had like a personal connection to a film like this in my life. So now with me being weird, what do you guys think?
Well, that's just you and Walt Disney that have a personal connection to the movie.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I mean, like we had a bunch of problems. There was a bunch of problems shooting in a place like that. Did you say you did sound too as well as act in that space?
Yes.
Did you have any issues with sound with all the machines? That was an issue that we had to negotiate.
So when did you shoot? Day or night?
Mostly overnight. Yeah, so the place, the Fun Haven, the place where we shot in Ottawa, was closed at 8 or 9 o'clock. We filmed all night till the sun came up.
So we did the opposite. We shot in the morning before they opened, and
Right.
that was on all 3 films. So we would get there at like 5 in the morning. They would open it up. We would go in and shoot. And then depending on the day, we'd either have to be done at like 11 a.m., maybe 1 p.m.,
Oh,
something like that.
a very, very
So,
short shoot day, right? Like, it's super short.
which is why it was crazy, which you could probably understand. And it's, but we could shut everything down.
All the
So,
machines.
yeah, because they were turned off when we got there. And then when we could hear the machines being turned on, it was like, oh, okay, we got to wrap up. So
Right,
last
right.
scene, let's get this done, and then we got to start loading everything up, putting it into.
We could have turned the machines off, but Jamie liked the lights and everything. We wanted it kind of on, like to look like it was on, like sort of the arcade machine.
But without the
That's
noise,
yeah.
and to be selective too. If you're doing like a scene next to a machine and you don't want the lights flashing in the actor's face or something, just to be able to isolate that one machine. But the big problem was that, like, when we got to Fun Haven, it's like we want to leave the lights on, but we don't want the music. That they didn't know how to do it. They never did it before. So the first couple of nights were kind of tricky, and then there was like one guy that stayed overnight with us, and he answered all our questions and did everything. But then he left, and someone else had to figure it out like a couple nights later, and that like slowed us down a little bit. And we had to shoot at night. We had to shoot at night, and we had to finish shooting before the sun came out, because everything happens at night. So that really, the clock was always ticking.
There was big windows in our place, John. So like you would have felt the sun in the morning, no matter where you were. Like so it's kind of a nighttime place, but it had big front windows, so it would have been hard.
That kind of messes you up a little bit too. I used to work long time ago UPS for like the holidays, and you'd be in those trucks in loading dock, and they would have the holes in the floor, and you would get there at like, I don't know, 11 o'clock at night and leave at like 8 in the morning, and slowly the holes would start getting light, and you could see the beams coming through.
Yeah.
So I could imagine when you're filming and you're seeing these windows and it's pitch black outside, and then all of a sudden that sun starts to rise, it kind of messes with you. Like, wait, this should be the opposite. We should be, with the sun setting, not rising. So did that kind of mess with you guys? Or
and every time we've done this a couple of times. So at The Influencer, we shot at night too. And it really messes you up. And like I'm never doing this again, but like the advice that is always given is like, well, the first night you should but the night before the shoot, you should stay awake all night and try to sleep in the day, and then be ready for the first night. But every single time I've done this now, I don't sleep at night, and then I can't sleep all day because it's the daytime. Then I show up for the first day of filming, that first night of filming, and I'm exhausted already. So I don't know. You just gotta kind of bite the bullet and just do it. Like the first night, you just stay awake. It sucks, and then you slowly get used to it. And right when you're about to get completely used to it, you finish filming, and then
There's
go back
nothing
in a
worse.
week. And
Yeah, there's nothing worse than finishing filming like on the day and then fighting like morning rush hour traffic home.
Yeah.
That's all these people are kind of going to work, and you're like, oh man, I'm so tired, and I'm finding, and also it will be hard to get to sleep when I get back because the sun will start beaming into wherever you are. So yeah, that's we don't.
But it's so I thoroughly enjoy filming at night though. I always find the lighting's way better, especially if it's a horror movie. Nighttime is the time you want to shoot.
Yeah, shooting a horror movie in the daytime feels wrong. It's got to be.
But it's funny that you say that. Is I actually like horror movies that are shot during the day. Being out here in Vegas, everything is so stark. It's all desert, mountain, sun. I mean, it is. You walk outside and you're like this. So I figured, well, why not shoot some horror stuff that's outside? Why not shoot it with that? When you do open the door, it just floods the light in, and then and then I did 2 short films called AXEMAS 1 and 2. Those were all at night. That's where I experienced what you were going through. We started at 11 a.m., ended at like 6 in the morning, and for 2 films. And so I know exactly what you're talking about. But for these other ones, it was early in the morning. And the good thing is where we were shooting like the Live Escape and the Zomgul stuff, that's only about 3 or 4 miles from my apartment. So I could leave 10 minutes before we got to set and we'd be fine. And to answer your question about the sound, the only problem that we had with sound was that it's found footage. So I had to be, I'm holding the boom and I got the sound on me. So I had to watch out for the actors because I couldn't be in the shot at all. And every
And
once
no
in a
one was
while,
labbed? Nobody was labbed, you mean? Like, it was just
no,
supposed
it
to be
was
found
all,
footage?
yeah, it was just all. Eventually, for the second one, Joe did rig up the camera so I could do other stuff, but he did rig it to where he could just do all the sound off the camera with professional sound equipment, and he could swing it around.
Didn't you find any issues though with just actually hearing the actors over the arcade, background noise, or consistency in cutting? When you cut from one shot to the other, there would be a jarring cut because the background noise would be different.
Not that I could see in the final cut of the film. No, in what was released, it seemed to be okay. Most of it, because those are zombie movies. So it was mostly just a lot of moans and groans from the zombies running around. Really just a few actors, like 2 cops and then homeless people, which turned into zombies. So the sound was okay, and Joe and whoever was operating the camera, because it was 2 cops, they would have the sound. So they would have like earbuds and they would be like, no, we couldn't hear that. So we got to do it again. Or I would be the one to say that. So it was, so overall,
it's in like one takes and stuff like
that. We did a few. It depends on what it is. So, because a lot of the people that we would use were not professionals. Maybe they worked at a haunt, and so they were used to doing haunt acting, and so we'd have to do it a few times over. So, how were your actors with shooting that late? Were they okay? Because they all looked very alive until they died.
The first night, nobody did. Like, the first night was really rough. We had probably one of the worst nights that we ever had filming on the first night. Big chunk of that was just people were exhausted, yawning, whatever. Like by 4 o'clock in the morning, everyone was done on that first day. But they did okay. I mean, they pulled themselves together. And then as the shoot goes on, we try to shoot in an order as much as we can, and then we would just kill people off so there'd be less people there as the shoot went on. Less people complaining.
just because of numbers, there's less people there. Obviously, so everyone was still complaining in 100%.
Yes, but just less voices.
So to be up that late and what did you do for like the cast and crew? Did you have like a room where there was coffee, a lot of sugar, what did you do to keep them awake?
We had speed, cocaine, just a water thing full of Red Bull, just like an entire water cooler just full of Red Bull.
And that was for the beginners. Jamie just had it intravenously pumped into him because he had to hold the camera as well, so he would just wire it like that.
Yeah. That's why in the behind the scenes you're walking around, you just got it hanging and so that's what that was. That's what you were walking around with. Okay. I didn't think about like cocaine and heroin and stuff. So that I'll have to do that.
Not heroin, it was speed. You don't want to give them heroin. That does the exact opposite.
See, maybe there's my problem.
Bull,
I'm
cocaine,
wrong drugs.
Yeah, you can't, we don't want to get them high. We want to get them like a buzz, adrenaline buzz.
Functionally high.
And then you got to give them their last. I can't remember. There was a bell that went off at like 4:30 a.m. and that was when they could have their last line of coke, and because then they would need to sleep eventually at about 9 a.m. So you didn't want to. If you got that wrong, they'd have been up also all day, and we'd have come back to the arcade and they'd still be ripping lines. And
it's a fine balance.
Yeah.
God, I'm so envious. I wish I was on that set. I mean, I didn't even think about that stuff. I just thought of coffee and Pop-Tarts.
Now in Canada, everything's legal.
Yeah.
It's funny that I will have to move up to Canada then. So okay.
You need another reason to move to Canada.
Yeah. Well, I mean, after the current election here, I think like a little less than half the country wants to move to Canada, but Canada has said we don't want you. Stay there. So but I thought I'm watching the movie and I'm going, why are they in hockey jerseys? And I'm like, are they like Kevin Smith fans or something? And then it dawned on me, Canada. This movie was made in Canada, which is the hockey haven. So
you have hockey down in America?
Yeah, but not
it's
like
not your national pastime. Yeah, no, we're crazy about the hockey. Actually, if you look super closely, There's a couple of shots where you can see a Canadian flag in the background. Little
Oh,
Easter egg for you.
Oh,
Oh, yes.
okay. That was like Meatballs with Bill Murray, where
Mhm.
at the very beginning of the movie he plays the Canadian anthem
Yeah.
for 30 years. However, I always thought that was just Bill Murray being funny.
Yeah.
Like they were just shooting here in America at some, Camp Crystal Lake type of place. And because it's Bill Murray and his character was playing the Canadian, national anthem. And my friend's like, no, dude, they shot that in Canada. That's why. And I'm like, oh, now it all makes sense to me. Okay. But it was, I always thought it was just him being funny. We'll just play the wrong anthem. So, but it wasn't.
No, he's
So,
representing. Yeah.
yeah.
And everything's
Canada.
shot in Toronto. Everything's shot in Toronto. Like, everything that you watch is all shot right here, right in on downtown Toronto.
Nice. Do you ever work on projects that are shot up there?
Simon does. Simon's been in Food Bar recently. He's been in The Witcher. What else, Simon? Have you ever? What was the other thing?
I'm glad it came up organically. I've actually, Jamie's neatly introed me. I'm just going to cue in. How do I make my show reel play here? You just my show reel. Sometimes you need to show people, then tell them.
Well, can you just act it out for us? Just right.
I could act the whole scene. I'm glad you asked. Yeah, let's do
Bruce Willis. Yes, I was in Bruce Willis's last two movies. He's done all kinds of big stuff. He was just in Scotland filming Virginia Woolf.
Virginia Woolf, yeah. But Toronto does dub for, as Jamie was saying, Toronto dubs for America way more than you might think, or in New York City, I think a lot of the stuff. But there's a huge, big Netflix studio up there. They do, as far as I'm aware, they do a ton of stuff on Toronto and Vancouver. They're huge hubs for.
80% in Toronto. Yeah,
Yeah.
80% in Toronto. Like Netflix has a big studio like 2 feet from here. But like oftentimes you'll be like I can go a block away and all of a sudden it's downtown New York. Like they change all the mailboxes and the street signs and everything. There's like American hot dog vendors and stuff like that.
Excuse me. Oh wow.
Yes.
Well, so let me ask you something. I'm going to go way back to the very beginning. Very far back to the beginning. How, like, there are other kind of films. There's like, now we got trailers for like Popeye the Slayer Man.
Yeah.
Other people have done the Mickey Mouse films. You got
these first. Yeah, but yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, and so it's how did you realize, like, when did you know, like, okay, on this date the Steamboat Willie will go public domain, so 2 years before we have to make this movie to make sure that it comes out on that date?
2 years.
2 years. That's a bit generous.
Oh, 2 minutes.
We gave Jamie a whole 10 minutes to get ready.
Oh wow!
Simon literally had the idea in August, like literally, and then we started filming like a month later.
Oh,
we had a date to work to, which was January 1st, 2024. So we had to work back from there. Like, and I mean, I say
that's
that.
So on that date is when Mickey's copyright expired. So we knew on January 1st of this year that was going to happen.
We also thought that more than us would do it. We thought, well, because it was sort of widely known that the copyright was coming up, that it would enter public domain. So people knew about it. And especially after, I don't know if you saw the Winnie the Pooh horror movie, Blood and Honey.
Yeah, I've seen both. Yeah,
that was a great idea. Maybe not a great movie, but sort of they had a great idea. And so I was thinking, oh well, once Mickey comes up into that same sort of copyright freedom, that public domain freedom, that people will do it. But we were the only people to do it. Lots of people have jumped on our, bandwagon, obviously now. But none of them were brave enough to try it.
I was absolutely shocked. Like when Simon said like I had this idea, I still have the text. I was looking for something the other day and I went through. It's like I have an idea that's gonna light the world on fire. Is exactly what he said, and he was exactly right. The one time he was exactly right.
I had to be right eventually.
But yeah, like I thought for certain January 1st, we were fighting really hard to finish the trailer, and we right up until like the last day before, like it was the holidays and everything. I normally don't work over this period of time between Christmas and New Year's, and we're fighting to make this trailer finished, and I was like, for what's the point? There's gonna be 1,000 people doing the exact same thing on January 1st, and then on January 1st, I was completely proven wrong that we were the only people that were smart enough or dumb enough to do it.
No, we can say smart now because Disney didn't sue us.
Yeah,
We don't.
we seem like geniuses now. Like, absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, like I forget, I'm blanking on the name of it, but there's that film where the guy shot at Disneyland using his cell phone, and Disney said that you can release it, but you can't make any money off of it, so they didn't sue him. So, did you have any issues like that with
No.
using the mouse, mask or Steamboat Willie, or because you got the crawl at the beginning, like the Star Wars crawl at the very beginning,
Not Star Wars.
pointing some things out, so there were no problems.
Not Star Wars.
No, that was a generic space scroll, just to be clear.
Oh,
No, there was,
sorry.
yeah, no, I mean, like the big thing, it was kind of annoying too that, like, we had all this press in January, February. It was all very exciting. We were like covered all over the world, like from Japan to all over Europe and Latin America and whatever. And then we went radio quiet as we negotiated a deal with with distributors all over the world. We didn't know exactly if we're going to give it to one company or give it to a bunch of companies, and that took forever. And then you know, uh, uh, when we had the deal in place and we were going to launch the movie August 6th, and we started to do some press again to promote it. The one question that was coming back to us all the time was like, is Disney going to sue you? Is Disney going to sue you? And it really kind of annoyed me. And then, yes, long and behold, no, they did not sue us. They did never reach out to us. Knock on wood. I mean, they always still can, but I mean, it seems like we dodged that bullet. And they did the same thing that they did with Winnie the Pooh. Nothing.
Yeah, I mean, we had observed the copyrights, sort of. So we were in that 6-month period, we went through quite exhaustive legals and errors and omissions insurance, which is what you have to buy. There were a lot of companies that would decline to even give us a quote on the coverage. We eventually found a company that would cover us because they understood that our specific thing. Everyone was just too afraid of Mickey Mouse, and they're like, no, yeah, we're not going anywhere near that. But once you got into it, you realize that we had observed the public domain copyright, and there wasn't really anything that Disney could do. But most of them were actually just afraid that Disney were going to sue anyway. They were like, well, yeah, if Disney sued, you'll probably win. But that doesn't mean they won't sue you, So they're like, oh, right, yeah, they may sue you just to hold you up, sort of,
I mean, they totally. I mean, it's Disney. They could have squashed us like a bug, really.
yeah.
But and we do that. But I mean, we rolled the dice, and God bless them, they didn't.
They didn't. Yeah, I think they could see that we went on every interview we went on. We told people how much we loved Disney.
Well, you don't criticize them or anything. I mean, you joke around in the crawl that goes up, but you don't make fun of them. You don't criticize them. You don't, I mean, the name Mickey Mouse is in the film, but it's not. But then, of course, it's also in the Steamboat Willie cartoon too. So is it maybe kind of more like a 25% type of thing that the mask has changed just enough?
The mask is based on the Steamboat Willie version. So really what it is that Disney still owns Mickey Mouse, and they own the latter iterations of what you and I would think maybe Mickey Mouse looks like right now. So that's why that guy is black and white. There's some features that he doesn't have eyebrows, doesn't have eyeballs. There's a bunch of stuff that has to look like that. So I think someone at Disney probably did look at our movie and then decided that we had observed, the copyright enough. We had adhered to what the public domain would allow. So, rather than be the bully that people thought they were going to be, Disney didn't be. Well, they weren't the bully, and we're very thankful for that. But I think that was part of their thinking as well. As like, this is obviously an independent film where they're not going to take a massive chunk of the Mickey Mouse business really from us by doing this. So we should just quietly allow it.
I don't think that they were in the process of making a Mickey Mouse horror movie either. So it's like it's kind of a different market anyway. Yeah. But we're crumbs to them. I mean, they'd be picking on the little guy if they did end up suing us.
Yes.
Yeah, that would kind of look bad. But I wonder if, since after you, there's now been more and more people to do this, if at some point they're just going to go, okay, this is enough. There's now 10 of these movies.
No, I don't, honestly, especially now that they have them with us. I mean, like, it's going to be harder to do in the future because then why didn't you do it? Like, what's different? Unless someone breaks the rules. I mean, the thing is that we didn't do this willy-nilly. Like, we consulted with a million lawyers, spent a lot of money to find out exactly what we could and couldn't do, and we followed the letter of the law. Now, if someone decides to make a Mickey Mouse horror movie and they dress them just like the modern version of Mickey Mouse, they're going to get sued, and they should, because that copyright still holds. So, I mean, you just have to be kind of smart about it.
Yeah, copyrights are weird these days, kind of like Night of the Living Dead these days. You can't really call anything Night of the Living Dead anymore because of Criterion.
It's not really weird. It's not really weird. You just have to understand it. Like the lore hasn't really changed. You know, the lore is kind of slow, right? You know, sort of, but it's kind of it's there. So you just people go, oh, the lore's kind of weird. And you're like, it's not really. It's there. Sort of. What you mean is that if I made a Mickey Mouse horror movie and I wasn't trying to sell it, like I just threw it up on YouTube, Disney might not sue me, but they would certainly shut the movie down. But then I'm not trying to sell the movie. So like, there's this thing of like, oh well, if I made a Mickey Mouse horror movie and I put it on TikTok. I was like, and I wasn't getting any advertised-based revenue off that, then would I be all right? And the answer is probably, but the movie might get like a copyright strike against it, which if you have a YouTube channel or anything like that is always possible. So, you know, the law is there. It's just adapting to the new platforms and the new sort of streaming models and, you know, how we all digest media in 2024 sort of. But the law is still there, and it's pretty clear. Night of the Living Dead, by the way, people bring that up a bit. Night of the Living Dead is complicated because the original movie was never copyrighted.
Right.
You know, but you can have the subsequent movies that have been made have been. So if you know.
But
so
you can't copyright zombies.
Yeah, I mean.
Well, and they're not called zombies in the movie. So they're just like undead, basically. So it's like I have a couple friends who made their versions of Night of the Living Dead. They're altered, but and they were contacted to say your film is fine, but you got to change the title because one was called Night of the Living Dead Rebirth, and they're like, keep the rebirth, but get rid of the Night of the Living Dead, and you're fine.
Right. Yeah,
and so it's like, but
because the subsequent sequels of Night of the Living Dead were put under copyright, so you're making a zombie movie with that title. Me and Jamie would also be in trouble if we made a movie called Mickey's Mousetrap or The Mousetrap, and we tried to make a family movie, like because there's a thing like called brand confusion. That would be us making the same type of movie that Disney already are in the space of. Because Disney are not making a Mickey Mouse horror movie, that gave us a little bit of safety. We're like kind of an island, you know, there sort of. We're not
interesting thing that happened when we were making promo stuff for the movie. We wanted to have an animated Mickey at one point, and our lawyer was like, "Oh no, you can't do that. You can't have if you make Mickey animated, then that's too close."
But the Steamboat Willie animated Mickey is fine.
Well, that's the thing that's in public domain.
The actual Steamboat Willie cartoon that existed in 1928, yes, you can use that. But if you wanted to recreate an animated Steamboat Willie, that's more dicey.
Okay, so you find out that Steamboat Willie is going to go public domain. Simon comes up with the idea. How does that go into like this kind of family arcade setting instead of a hospital or some other place, just this like a cabin in the woods or something like that? How did that fit into?
Well, that was the idea, sort of. So when I came up with the idea, the whole thing was like, oh, in an arcade, because it's a children's play area, right? It's an adult play area actually, but it was still sort of reminiscent. But so when I came to it with Jamie, I came with, rather than a script and something completed idea, I was like, oh, you know, this idea in this place, because I knew that I could film in it as well. So like it was in Ottawa, which is the city I lived in, and it was there. So, but I already knew I could film in it. So it's a lot easier to write a script when you know the location is available to filming. So like I knew the place, I knew they had a laser tag, I knew that they had a roller coaster, I knew that they had a bunch of, you know, sort of, so you can write the scenes accordingly, sort of based on what you knew is already there. And it seems like the right environment for it to be set in anyway. If kids are going to get trapped, or young adults rather, are going to get trapped in overnight somewhere in this type of slasher movie, an arcade seems very retro and fitting.
It seemed like a natural place for Mickey Mouse. Like it seemed like where Mickey, if Mickey came back to life, that's where he'd be hanging out.
He wouldn't really hang out. He wouldn't really hang out at a bar, you know what I mean, or the hospital, or a cabin in the woods. It's not quite that. He doesn't drag and drop over there as easily.
So did you know the person who was running the arcade? Like, are they a friend, or you just knew that you could pay X amount of money and shoot there?
Yes, I mean, money was our common language there. No, I didn't know.
A big chunk of the budget, to be completely honest. A big
chunk of the budget was to the arcade, or rather the catering that they did or didn't provide. You know,
We make these movies, the 7 movies that we made, that a lot of them take place in one location. We shot like a submarine movie. We shot a
I
movie
love
in
one location.
yeah, it's tricky, but I mean, obviously, it helps budget wise. You're not always
Yeah.
moving locations and stuff like that. So yeah, we shot like a prison, a submarine, this Fun Haven place. I'm trying to think where else.
We do a lot of things of like that, like isolate, because ultimately that's what's interesting, isn't it? It's like it becomes, if you trap a bunch of people in a place and you give an external something dangerous outside or inside, sort of it's interesting. It's it's all about characters then. But we've got one coming out, as Jamie alluded to there, called What Lurks Beneath, which is actually going to drop next week on the 13th.
December 13th, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, sweet. Okay.
And we shot that on a real submarine, which Jamie, I know Jamie loved, because it was a real.
Oh, I love that.
It was a lovely place for Jamie to try and light and shoot.
Oh, I really I'm making I haven't made a reel of my work since 2018, and I've been going through the past couple of things that I made, and like the submarine movie is so pretty.
Yeah,
it was a real 1967 British submarine that's now a museum that we took over for a week. And it was just like, so every frame is just like so exotic. Every room, like the torpedo room was amazing. The bridge actually was not called the bridge. What was it? What's the actual bridge called?
Oh, I don't know. Yeah, we called it that, but I remember them kept saying the real name. We had 2 like advisors on set, which was good and very annoying at the same time, because you would be like, we're just gonna flip these buttons and that will mean that we start to rise, and they were like, yeah, if you want to float the aft ballast tanks, and I was like, I don't even know what half of that sentence meant. I was like, I'm just saying it because I'm right here and it will look good, because if I just do this. And he was like, you would never do that anyway, it's completely unrealistic. And you go, all right, but anyway, there's mermaids all right here, all right, but yeah, okay.
Yeah.
So you're just kind of like your fingers going towards like a switch, and you're just looking towards the advisor. Is this okay? And he's like,
like
oh, okay.
No, that'll flip the submarine upside down.
Yeah.
Why would you have that button anyway?
Well, I'm looking forward to that then, because like I said, I love one location films. Subs are awesome, so I'm looking forward to that, and so maybe down the road we can discuss that too. So that would be So since that. With that being shot on the whole sub, did you shoot the mousetrap completely inside the arcade, or did you go to different locations for different settings?
There was a couple of more locations in it, like the bar that the hockey guys are all hanging out in. That was shot like a month or 2 later after principal photography. The jail cell stuff that was shot at a studio in Hamilton.
Yeah, we shot it. I mean, essentially, when we put it together, when we say a film in one location, it isn't that. But for 80% of the movie, it was. So it got most of the movie was in the can. With that one location. But yeah, there are always, me and Jamie we always talk about us being free. Like, our time, Jamie's time is like, it's our baby sort of. So we can run around for another 5-6 weeks after principal photography wraps and do extra bits, like just half a day here, a day there. And it doesn't really hurt the main,
Interestingly enough, the movie room that Simon's in, that's supposed to be at Fun Haven when he watches Mickey Mouse and turns into Mickey.
I was going to ask about that. Yeah,
that's actually in my condo. It's my condo screening room, like anyone in the building could rent. And on that day, it was just Simon and I for that whole sequence where he goes in, he pours himself a drink, and then
Jimmy, that didn't go that well. The fire brigade came, remember?
Yeah. Fire brigade, yes. The fire department came because I had gotten a new hazer that we used in Fun Haven and whatever. But in my the small room in my building, we flicked it on. I don't know. I just wasn't thinking. It set off the smoke detectors in my entire building, and we had a couple of. We had the fire department's called, and 2 fire trucks show up, which cost $1,500 each, by the way, that I had, we were supposed to pay actually, and somehow mysteriously, because my building is so awesome, they somehow forgot about that. And they never showed up.
I think that's otherwise they would have pushed that button a bit harder.
That was over a year ago. We shot that
like this video then.
Yes. Well, I think it's all done. It's all done in berries. But yeah, it was just Simon and I on that day. It was just him and I. Like so, all, like every shot, there was like a the dolly into Simon's face when he has his hand up like this. Like there's a light change for the entire room. I have like I'm operating the camera, pushing in, I'm pulling the focus, I'm doing the lighting change.
I always feel bad. There's always a day of shooting that we have a small amount to do, and in the end, it's just me and Jamie at some point doing something like that. And I always feel terrible when we do that because I don't really know any. It only highlights to Jamie how little I know about his end of this process. Because he's like, grab the slider, and I'm like looking around, like the slider, yeah, and then eventually Jamie has to like that thing, and you're like, got it. Whereas I'd have like the espresso machine. I was like, is this the slider? And it's like, does it look like a slider? I was like, I'm not sure, sort of, does it? The answer is no, it doesn't.
Simon definitely knows what Simon definitely knows what the slider is. It's like the ND8 filter. Like he might.
All right, the NDA. I'm just giving a lay example, but then I'll try and cheer him up. I was like, maybe I could go and get us Starbucks, Jamie, or something. Use, and he's like, yeah, a sandwich.
Yeah,
like, I'll go do that. I'll get that. Yeah. I'll go get the cocaine, Jamie, to help us shoot. Sort of. I often do things like that.
Now I know who to call.
Like so for some of the days, like I mean, we try to do like 80% of it one location. We have a small crew, and I mean a very small crew, but like there's days like that where it's just him and I. It's just literally I have all the camera equipment. Simon just has to take himself, the bastard. And then we like the thing the bar fight with the hockey guys. Like, we shot all that like in like 3 or 4 hours. And it was just Simon and I and one PA that day, and then those 4 actors. Or 3 actors, whatever it was. Yeah.
No, it was 3 plus 1 guy who turned up drunk. But yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Actors. So
that's we don't mind that, but yeah. It's always so that bit's always that's why I count us as like when you ask what we do, we're filmmakers, because I mean it in the all round sense of like it's whatever needs doing at that particular moment. And like we don't have to do it, but then it won't get done. You could be at any point it would be very easy to quit this process because you're like, oh, fuck this, sort of. So but it's always me and Jamie don't have that attitude. Like, no, okay, we can figure a way through this. It's we can do this.
And it sucks. Like it is going. The best metaphor is it's going to war, really. And I honestly, the filming, I've learned a lot of great directors feel the same way about this. It sucks. Like in so many ways, it's not my favorite day to be out filming. Like I'd rather be writing or editing, but I mean it's so rewarding. It's probably the most rewarding part is actually going to a location with something that was just a sheet of paper, some words on a sheet of paper, and turning it into something. And then when I get back to editing it and see all the inventory of shots that you have, that's like just magical. And it's like we did that. We went out and we created that.
Yeah,
it's truly the hardest part of making a movie is that production part, and I hate it but also love it at the same time.
Yeah, it is. I do think I agree with Jamie there. It's rewarding because we do make something from nothing. It is nothing usually. There isn't some big healthy budget or something. It is usually just manifesting something out of nothing, and it's sheer force of will that makes it happen on both Jamie's and mine part. But we try to find collaborators, actors, people along the way that are kind of like-minded. They've seen a few of what me and Jamie does, like as movies together, and they go, yeah, this will be, I don't know what these guys are thinking, but it will be something, they will get there in the end on it, sort of. It might not be immediately obvious what that is, but they stick with us.
Yeah, it's you got to wear a bunch of hats. I mean, I have found the worst part of filmmaking is scheduling, is just actors' schedules of just how many. You're all set up for that day a week from now, and one person calls out, and that's just like, crap, what do we do? So I love writing, I love editing, and it's, I guess, if that one person doesn't show up, depending on who it is, you can always shoot around that, but it's difficult. So it's very hard, and you need to at times, if you're Vegas has a small but thriving film community out here. We got Nicolas Cage is out here. Mark Wahlberg wants to set up a studio, and there's a lot of filmmakers out here, like the Mahal brothers and Drew Marvick and Joe Lujan and just all these other people. So you're always working on each other's movies, and a lot of the times it's for free. And because I work with Joe Lujan works for me. I then go and work with Drew Marvick. Drew Marvick then comes and works for me. So it's a whole, Tom Devlin is out here, and so he has his monster museum. And so it's, I'll ask Tom about special effects, and then he'll be like, hey, can you come and act in my film? And it's like, yeah, sure. So it's this really cool community where even if you might consider yourself to be like a writer or a director, you could still go and work on somebody's film to go get coffee, because you're just helping that person get their film done. It doesn't matter. Oh, I'm not a PA. I've made a movie. No, that doesn't exist. So you got to be able to, if it's just two of you shooting a scene with like one PA, the director is going to be doing multiple things. The writer is going to be doing multiple things. It's an interesting process, and I really love it. So
I
would
wish,
have to.
Yeah, I wish everyone would think like that, though, John. They don't. Like I know some people that make movies, and they view it very competitively, and they don't need to. You're like, it's annoying, because you're like, well, we're all, Jamie has this comparison that, it's a cake, and by me taking a slice of the cake, it somehow denies them. But really, there's more than enough to go around. Every independent filmmaker can be successful, and it won't hurt the one next to you.
Sure.
There's plenty of. We don't need to be arguing over scraps off the table, because we're all fighting the Marvel movies or the bigger stuff. We're actually all fighting the big tentpole pictures.
And at our level too, like the stuff that we've done and the colleagues that we have that like make movies, you have to love it. Like you have to, otherwise it'll never happen, first of all, and you'll lose your mind. Like Simon and I have been doing this for like a long time, and it's not always fun. Like it is very stressful for all kinds of reasons. And if you don't just really love movies, you'll never make it. And if your goal is to get rich, or to be famous, oh, forget about it. Like just go home.
Yeah, you definitely can't go into it with that.
But you guys might be this might be that film. This could be, with the interviews you're and the videos I've seen. This could be
we've been very lucky on this movie, but you're like, this is the tip of the iceberg. Yes, this movie's been successful, but nobody sees all the other times that we've been grafting away on things that struggle to see the light of the day, and even when they get out, they don't get the notoriety we'd hope that they would, or whatever. So on this one,
on January 2nd, the guy from ABC News that interviewed us told us that we had the most talked about movie on planet Earth on that day.
That's right.
We were
See,
on
there you
IMDb.
go.
On IMDb, we were out of every movie ever on IMDb on that week, we were like 444th or 45th of every
like
movie
ever compiled.
Ever.
Yeah, in terms of
I'm
traffic.
actually right here on my wall here. I just got a bunch of pictures printed up of different articles. We were Rolling Stone magazine, Variety, as BBC, whatever. I'm gonna stick them on this wall. I'm gonna get them. I'm framing them and put them all on this wall, so that whenever I get bummed out, which it will happen again, that I can look at that and be like, this is what can happen.
That's so. An actress that I work with said, she goes, she's on the poster for a movie she's in. She's the main person on it. She goes, I don't know. I feel weird about getting this poster framed and hanging it because it's me. She goes, isn't that weird? Isn't that like narcissistic or egotistical or something? And I told her exactly what you just said. I said, no, you put up posters of yourself. You put up the posters of the movies that you've made. So then when you say, I want to quit this, I'm just going to go get a job, this isn't worth it, I'm not going to do this, you look at those posters or articles or whatever it might be, and you say, this is why I'm doing it. And that will bring you back into that.
I double insist that we put posters of me up all over the house. Because
I'm sure, like, if Simon moved the camera right now, it's just a bunch of pictures of him. Just portraits of him, paintings.
That's not true. That's not true.
Painting on the.
No, I mean, I think it is really important to find ways to be able to realize what you're doing. I like to think about it, like, you have to have your North Star. Why are you doing the things that you're doing with your life? And you have to have some kind of North Star. And for me, I've always, since I was a little kid, I wanted to make movies. That's the thing I want to do professionally. And whenever I get, you know, depressed, or if I feel like I can't do it, I can now look at all the movies that I made and say like, look, or I'll be able to point to that wall and say like, oh no, things can happen. And
Yeah.
it's nothing to do with ego. It's just be able to give yourself the energy to move forward and take the wins when they show up, and hopefully they show up.
Like, do you ever hear that Jim Carrey story about how he used to? He said he was out there manifesting stuff from. He wrote himself a $10 million check and post dated it in 1995, and he wrote this check in 1990. So he gave himself, 5 years, and just before then he was getting $10 million a movie, and he was able to cash his own check, because he didn't. He was like, he goes, I put the check in my wallet, and I was like, yes, $10 million check. I'm working towards that, and obviously it was just like, something for himself, obviously, but he was like, I carried that check around everywhere thinking I'm going to make that a reality.
God, good thing he did lose that wallet.
And well, yes, somebody could have obviously endorsed the check in it. Would have been a very different story.
Well, so I'm going to go back to the script for a second, because there's definitely some things that I want to ask you guys. So it's, and if you, can I get into spoilers a little bit? Because it's been out for a while.
The movie's been out. Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, so I watched some reviews and I've read some reviews on the film, and people go, this is a confusing movie. This doesn't make sense to me. That's the stuff that I love in this film, is the stuff that's confusing, the stuff that's not explained. And of course I'm going, well, if they make a sequel, it'll probably be explained in it. And it's teleportation. It's a strobe light on the killer. It's things that are never explained, things that are never talked about, even and I don't want to say the ending of the film, but the ending before the credits is even a little crazy. And then you get the after credits scene, which is also a little crazy, because I'm just like, oh, sequel. And how did you got your killer, the location, you have an idea of what you're going to do. How did that stuff come into it, and just teleportation and strobe lights and all that?
Simon. Yes,
Well,
start. First of all, Simon will explain it, but like, just at the end of the day, each we had creative narrative problems that we had to kind of fix. So
yeah,
we did.
So we had, like this, what the teleportation is an easy one to talk about, right? We needed the killer to be able to move quickly, right? Because there was only one of them. So earlier in the script, we were like, oh, is there more than one person? Like, is it a thing? But there was only one person, so it embodies one person. Now, unfortunately, it's a big environment and there's 5 kids. So like with any horror movie where there's one slasher, you're like, well, if all 5 of you rush him at the same time, the movie would be over. And you're like, yeah, okay. So we need him to be impossibly supernatural, right? So he has to be stronger than them, just because there has to be a threat, obviously. Now you can demonstrate that with a kill, that's fine, but teleportation has to make it scary, because they have to not be able to escape, and in a room full of windows that would be difficult unless we fix that very quickly with going, he jumps inside and outside, like by teleportation. It makes it sort of scary. Then to combat that, we give him the kryptonite. This is like giving Superman his flight and his strength, but you have to give him a kryptonite, and that's the strobe light, which they have to happen upon accidentally. It's difficult to introduce these things, obviously, but they have to almost by accident find his kryptonite. There's going, the strobe light is what holds him in place. Now, I don't know why these things happen, so like people go, well, yes, okay, I understand. But I know that the narrative device helped us get
like, I really find it super funny that, like, people will say like, oh, well, this is stupid, like the flashlight hurts him, but they'll completely buy the fact that, like, he's been possessed by Mickey Mouse.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But he's been possessed by the ghost of Steamboat Willie.
Yeah.
But I mean, a flashlight scares him. No, that's too much. I can't do it.
I saw one thing that said, teleportation is not yet possible, even though it's been theoretically demonstrated in physics. You're like, this guy went down the rabbit hole on this, and you're like, but the fact that he's possessed by 1928 Steamboat Willie, that's okay. Then everyone skips right past that.
And also too, I will say, like I've seen Christopher Nolan say this in interviews, that like movies aren't necessarily meant to be understood; they're meant to be experienced.
Yeah.
You don't like, and like Mike Myers is a great example from Halloween. Like you never know why he's killing people. He's
until they tell you.
Yeah, they do tell you, don't they? In one of them,
yeah. But I'm only talking about the first movie. I'm just talking about in that movie. Like you don't know why he's doing what he's doing, and that somehow makes it more terrifying.
Yeah.
You don't know what's motivating him. You don't like it. You don't know what he's going to do next, and
Yeah,
there's no reason
and
for it.
that's what I like about zombie films. I don't know why. I don't care why the zombies are there. I just want zombies. I prefer the zombie films where somebody wakes up, they look out their window, and it's already happened. And they're like, oh crap, what's going on? I don't really need to know how the virus was
Yeah,
created. I
exactly.
like in Night of the Living Dead that they briefly talk about the Venus probe and that it has radiation and that, oh, is that it? And then for years, Romero would never say it. You know, oh, maybe, you never know. But I don't like explanations. And when like I met Damien Leone and I talked to him about Terrifier 2. And I told him all the stuff I liked it. And he goes, oh, you like all the stuff that people hate. And that was the length of the movie, the flashbacks, the all the stuff with, you know, the lead actress becoming like this
The
angel and her
story,
being reborn.
the story.
Yeah. Yeah. And he's like, yeah, nobody likes that stuff. And he's like, I'm glad you do. And it's like, to me, that's the most interesting stuff. I don't
Yeah.
need to know where Art the Clown
Well,
comes from. I don't need
yeah,
to know why teleportation is there. I just think it's cool.
yeah. It's more about the experience, right? Like in The Shining, you never know what's really going on with that hotel. You're never given any kind of satisfying explanation. You get a couple of crumbs that maybe it's this, maybe it's that, but
Yeah.
that doesn't affect your experience of watching The Shining.
So will any of this stuff be explained in
Yes.
the Mousetrap too? Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
yes. Now that we're saying all this, because really, because the idea is now kind of grown into this organic other thing. For me, anyway, with my idea for the second one, and I had this idea back in January when I was doing all the press of like the obvious thing is that this world becomes bigger, and that where does Mickey come from? There's a Mickey verse, right? Like, there's like another place. And so we learn about all kinds of things about that. It's not just about Mickey Mouse at this point, and all kinds of crazy things happen. And pretty much I'll tell you two things. Pretty much every question that you probably would have is answered. Maybe not all of them, maybe 90% or whatever. But also, two, the other thing is that we've made a director's cut of the movie, of the original movie, which is going to be released in Japan in March theatrically. And we shot another 20 minutes, and we've introduced new characters. Mickey can teleport and he goes somewhere else, and it's all happening during the same events that happened at Fun Haven. And in this version, it does explain more of what's happening. Like there's a little bit more meat to it. What I like to say is that like what we did with the director's cut is we took the movie and kind of wrapped it in bacon, uh, and I think
Love bacon.
yeah, who doesn't like bacon? Uh, So it's more gore, but also too it explains a little bit more, and it completely sets up the sequel where the end of the movie like literally like is the beginning of the next movie.
Oh, okay. I'm looking forward to that then, because we get that hint that he can go other places when when he goes into the bar, and then
Yes.
I don't want to say what the very ending is. So, but he does teleport someplace else, other than, you know, Fun Haven. So we know two places where he goes. So yeah, he could definitely pop in and out,
And
and
he can go anywhere. He can go anywhere.
that's yeah, that's what you're saying. And it's he can go inside Fun Haven and outside. And one of my favorite scenes is what I thought it was maybe this wasn't the case, but I almost thought it was like Giallo, is when our lead actress's best friend is coming back and she's walking past the windows and the friend is hitting on the windows trying to get her to stop. And I'm watching this going like, my God, this looks like an Argento movie. This is like, you could see this happening in some sort of Italian slasher movie. And I really enjoyed that. And with him just being inside, outside, and just kind of being everywhere. And I thought that was a creative way, because they, after all the Friday the 13th movies, they finally explained in the remake how Jason gets quickly from place to place. That's because he uses tunnels. And it's like, okay, but now you're doing it in the first film, saying he could pop around in different places. So you could put him, I mean, you could even have him in space. Make 10 of these, and then all of a sudden, Mousetrap in space.
Oh, an alien Mickey Mouse. That sounds amazing. I love
Yeah.
that. Someone
Yeah.
write that down.
Yeah. All of a sudden, just there's Mickey Mouse on a space station.
Yeah, and Mickey's the alien.
There you go. Just a little
Yeah.
special thanks at the end for me, please.
There you go.
That's,
Yeah.
that's all I need.
That's a genius idea.
I just really enjoyed this just so much. And I don't know why I've seen some people saying it's confusing. I don't like it. I don't understand it. It's well acted. It's well shot. It's well edited. It's well written. It's the actors do a great job. I mean, it's at no point did I look at any of the actors and go like, oh God, why did they hire them? I thought everybody tell me about the actors. How did you go through that process?
Well, so we cast it out of Ottawa, which is the place that it was made at. So the Fun Haven was at. So we went looking for non-union. There had to be young actors. They were young, sort of fresh actors. So we threw them in the deep end with this. This was like a 6-7 day shoot for them, or however long it was for them, and a night shoot. So we really did throw them in the deep end. And our page counts are quite scary if you've not been on a lot of movies before. So they really did earn their stripes on this movie. So they're all very young and they're all very new. So they did very well at adapting to the difficult circumstances that we gave them. So hats off to them.
But I guess one of the challenges with making a low budget movie like this is, I think a big part of these kind of movies rely on special effects. If we had a bigger budget, we would have more things happening. That's my biggest criticism of the film, is that I wish that we had time to plan it and to have the resources to be able to do some more blood and guts kind of stuff that people seem to really enjoy in these movies.
I like that you took care of the cell phone issue.
Oh yeah, that's a narrative thing. You have to. Unfortunately, every horror movie now today, you have to come up with a way. Why can't they call for help? Sort of that's a save the cat moment you've got to get in the first 10 pages. Why can't they call for help moment? It's got to be sort of, and all those things. You have to nicely, neatly get rid of that.
Yeah, I like that they put them into a bag instead of walking around going, I'm not. Yeah, there's no bars here. I'm not doing any of that stuff. And it's funny because I made AXEMAS 1 and 2, one location, all shot at a storage facility. And in the first film, I forgot about cell phones. So our lead actress, who's the final girl, has a red cell phone sticking out of her back pocket the entire movie. And I'm just like, why didn't she just call? All she had to do was just call the police. There's people being killed in here. I didn't even think about all that. So for part 2, I said, I don't want one cell phone to be seen. Cell phones don't exist in this world. No cell phones. Go put them in the unit where you guys are relaxing and stuff. I don't care. I mean, it's a storage facility, so it's got bad reception anyways. But it's like, no, we got to squash this. I can't have, because a couple critics did bring it up. Like, well, she has a cell phone. Why didn't she just use it? Even
if you don't see them, you see, the problem is that people go, well, why don't they just call? Because the assumption is everyone has their cell phone in their pocket, which is fairly accurate. If your movie involves young people, it's going to be pretty accurate, isn't it? So we had to get rid of that, and we had to get rid of the landline recently. Like, well, we knew we were in a building, it would have a landline, so we had to get around that too. Why they couldn't call for that kind of help.
Yeah, and I found it interesting that you guys had. Is it okay to just keep calling him Mickey Mouse or the killer?
Yeah.
Or
it's Mickey Mouse.
I don't want to get you guys in trouble or anything.
No, that's a podcast that we can call.
You can't get us in any more trouble than we already made.
Believe me.
So Mickey Mouse is, he appears, disappears, and all that stuff. But then there's scenes where he's standing right here, and then they're on the phone, and his voice is on the phone. So I'm guessing his voice can also kind of teleport.
That is an excellent question. I was going to let Jamie take that one.
that one was not my idea.
No. Didn't you? Jamie said something about that earlier. Different thing. No, but you know what, John? Our hour is up. And I have a very busy day.
Well, what was the if you know the story, the location and all that, what was budget look at for this? Like, can you say what the budget was?
$8.5, $9, I think. Although Jamie,
I was thinking more like 20.
No, Jamie insisted on getting an upgrade for a Subway sandwich order one day, so that pushed it right up to $12.
Jeez, of
I mean,
course.
but seriously though, I mean, like really, we had like next to no money, but you have to have some money to do this. I mean, like the rent Fun Haven cost a lot of money.
Yeah,
And that's where more than half of the production budget went, to be completely honest, right? I mean, we did this with you know, all my own equipment. We didn't rent one thing. We had a second camera for maybe 2 days, I think.
yeah, it wasn't long.
You know, like a 5 or 6 person crew, like all said and done. We made it for nothing. To be honest with you, the insurance that we had to get, that we didn't know was, we knew we had to get it, but we didn't know how hard it would be to get. We didn't know how much money it would be. That cost more than our production budget.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I would imagine. Yeah.
Yeah, it was a
Wow.
big bill that like we had no idea.
And the crazy thing was, John, was we were grateful that somebody would let us pay this invoice, because at one
We
point it looked like nobody was going to go near it.
There's only 6 companies in Canada. And there's only a handful of companies in the world that actually do this kind of insurance. And everyone in Canada would even quote on us, except for one company that said, "Yeah, we'll give you a quote." It was really high, but it would disclude if Disney sued you, which made
Yeah,
it
that's
absolutely
right.
worthless. And we had to go to the UK market, and so it was a nightmare. We finally found a company, and it was very expensive. And probably the next person the next one that's going to come out, their insurance policy might be less because of us.
And I bet they will. They get a deal on it, will they? Because they'll be able to point at our movie, and we
Well,
don't
they
get
can just
any
send
of
the
that.
check via Jamie Bailey.
Yeah, exactly. We should say
I
set
do
up an insurance company.
I do accept e-transfer. One of my favorite things that happened too is that we've actually invented a category of film.
Oh, that's right.
Oh, what is it?
Any movie that you like, Winnie the Pooh fits this category, but it's called mouseploitation. So anytime someone takes an existing cartoon IP and puts them in a slasher movie, it's called mouseploitation. And we are the
Nice.
first people on planet Earth that had the first mouseploitation movie.
Even
Are there?
though Winnie the Pooh came first, it must stick in there.
It's
It
true.
must stick in their throat that happened, that we got that credit, but we did. So they should remember that.
So with that being said, is this now like a mouse-averse, where you can introduce other characters that are public domain into future films?
Yes.
Oh.
Yes, and that's a big chunk. I mean, we allude to it at the end of this one, and we've expanded on it in the script for the second one, where we're going to do it in a way I don't think people are expecting. I know that, and it's really kind of frustrating too, because I know any and everybody that knows this now be like, "Oh, you're just copying the Winnie the Pooh guys," because they have the Pooh verse thing coming out. But I did have this idea in January. I swear to God. So it was quite annoying. Like a month later, they announced that.
Jamie had this whole outline, so it was I can attest to that before we ever even heard of the other thing. So
It kind of occurred to me when we're doing all the press that like just the obvious extension to this idea is that we wouldn't limit it to just Mickey Mouse or Winnie the Pooh, like that we could what else exists and how can we play with it and how would it fit in this world, how would it work? And I spent a big chunk of the year figuring that out, and I just finished the first draft of the script that kind of answers a lot of the questions from the first one, but it really expands on what happens. And uses different IP characters that, like if you look at the Winnie the Pooh ones, I do know what ones that they have. There's one or two overlaps, but that's it. I'm using characters that you probably wouldn't think to use.
Jamie,
In this,
don't say too much.
okay.
Because there are eyes and ears listening that are not.
All right. Well, yeah. Okay. Yeah. So I mean, that's.
Well, it's just stuff to look forward to. Just a broader, bigger universe to look forward to.
I guess at the end of the day, what I'm trying to say is we're trying to do something really unique with this whole idea and genre. It's not just the obvious extension of what the Winnie the Pooh ones might be when they come out.
So with this, it's so you guys bring out Mousetrap, and now there's all these other people doing these Mickey Mouse movies, but yet Winnie the Pooh comes out and nobody's doing other Winnie the Pooh movies. So is it just, why do you think that is? Why not have other people hop onto the Winnie the Pooh?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think probably the answer to that is that Mickey Mouse is a much bigger star than Winnie the Pooh. And it was also too, it's so enticing. Winnie the Pooh is kind of fun and cute, whatever, to make him put it the slasher movie, whatever. But Mickey Mouse is like the mouse that built Disneyland, like that built, you know, the mouse that built the house, kind of thing. He's a bigger star, so I mean, he's the obvious one. If you had to pick one or the other, you're gonna pick Mickey Mouse. And now that we've done it and not got sued, and everyone's feel like they have the, you know, the free pass to make their own.
Yeah, and a lot of them are not going to be good. To be honest, a lot of them aren't going to be very good because they're going to be done so quickly that it's the care will not be taken. So you know, that's.
I mean, we were the first, and we did ours pretty quick. So yeah, but you know, like,
but you also had nothing to compare to. You know, you had, if you're making a slasher movie in the woods, there's 10,000 slasher movies in the woods compared to, but you guys did it first. There's nothing to compare it to. So even if you did it quickly, there's nothing to go like, oh, but their film wasn't as good as this one that came before it. No, yours is the first. Yours is the one that is the standard.
Oh, it doesn't matter to us if speaking of Damien Leone, Damien Leone, you know, is doing one. You know, sort of. So he's one of the producers on this Steamboat horror. You know, somebody along will come along and they'll do a better one than our first effort, obviously. But like, I mean, we paved the way for that. As Jamie said, nobody would have touched it if we didn't touch it, just to see what would happen. So when they come along and do something better, they go, yeah, I mean, you know, you know, that's like somebody following up, as you say, A Night in the Living Dead, and you're like, well, yeah, if something doesn't pave the way to begin with, it's very easy to say, oh, well, I can do something better than that, and you're like, yeah, but we had, you know, like an original idea sort of on it, so it's like,
Not like too, like I like if the playing field was you know, level, and that everyone else that's making their movies, they have the same resources that we did,
yeah,
and then we'll see who made it. Like you have the same timeline, the same equipment,
the same, you know, they go, yeah, we had $4 million to make ours, and you're like, you poor guys, I don't know how you survived.
Yeah, like I mean, like a small budget movie, you look at something like The Substance or A Quiet Place, whatever. They're made for usually about, it seems to be $17 million is the magic number. And Simon and I like, holy shit, like my God, and that's peanuts. Like I mean, but literally, like what we made with all 7 of our movies, and Mickey Mouse is the most known. I mean, we've done this with nothing. We basically we showed up.
Yeah, I think there should be in the future, we were talking about this before, that there should be sort of awards categories, right? There should be some sort of, you know, like Indie Spirit Awards sort of type format, but for budget levels, you know, like where it goes, right, movies under 100 grand, movies, you know, and then, so because it's not fair to be compared to A Quiet Place, you know, when you're making horror, and you go, well, they, you know, they had a massive ass studio, you know, and yet they're still considered a small movie. And you're like, yes, but they had the world
But
at
even,
their feet, you know, like sort of,
you know, I know we don't have to deal with film, so we don't have that big expense. But like when I read about like the Evil Dead movie, the first one, the Sam Raimi's first Evil Dead movie, they had a budget of $110,000 that they had raised in some various different ways. But I mean, 110,000, and that was just back in 1979, right? So that's worth a lot more than like, and that's more than what we had to make Mickey Mouse.
sure.
So when you think about it like that, it's like we're like micro small, and yet somehow it looks as good as it does. Like I don't quite understand it, but you know, hats off to us, I guess.
Yeah, and when you look at something like The Substance, it's a lot of people are saying that's an independent film, and it's like, really, have you seen what Demi Moore's paycheck was? That's not an independent movie.
That's
So
$17 million. Like I don't know. Like the Lord of the Rings is considered the biggest independent movie ever made, and they had $270 million to make all 3 of those movies back then.
Yeah, but Jamie, they had to make 3 of them for that money.
But and which is peanuts really now. I mean, like it was like $90 million a movie to make a Lord of the Rings. Like each one made like $1 billion.
Yeah.
But I mean, New Line Cinema, it was an independent production company, and basically, what the hell's the guy's name? Peter Jackson, made that movie with the same spirit as if it was an independent movie, and just figured it out every day along the way.
Yeah. Well, I mean, he was the big at the time, the big indie filmmaker. So you know, I don't think really, you know, except for maybe like Frighteners or something, he wasn't making big budget. It was all really small. You know.
Yeah, and not everything did great too. Like he did Critters, or he did was it Twilight, something that he did, and it didn't do very well. Robert Zemeckis produced it, so he had like a couple.
Oh,
of hits
that'd be
and misses.
Frighteners. That'd be
Frighteners,
Frighteners. Yeah.
Yes.
Supposed to be a
But
Tales from the Crypt episode or movie. but
And
yeah.
Pretty Creatures was kind of a drama. He did a couple different kind of genres, but not everything was successful. But somehow he was given the reins to do Lord of the Rings, and then turned it into like the Lord of the Rings, like probably the best trilogy ever made.
Yeah.
Yeah. But he did it with like, the spirit of making an independent movie but he had money. And that's what Simon and I want. Just give us the money. We'll make these movies with the same level of passion.
We're reasonable
And
guys. Just two. We're doing for 250 million. You know, so we'll make 3. You know, no problem.
Yeah, and I don't think people realize that it's like you almost need to first make these independent films before jumping in. Like, look at all the people that graduated from the school of Roger Corman. You know, you know, all of these now Academy Award winning directors started with Roger Corman, and they took that knowledge and put it into big budget movies.
Yeah.
Because that's, you know, for James Cameron, Aliens was just a big budget Roger Corman movie. That's all it was. And you could see him, you know, in behind the scenes, you know, with a face hugger with fishing line on it, and he's pulling it, you know, at the camera. And so because that's how Roger Corman would have done it.
Yeah.
So I think if more people understood how independent films worked, their films might be better. You know, instead of just going right into it and not understanding how movies work. So it's nice seeing, you know, you guys building things up, and now, you know, and getting bigger and bigger, because you started with a low budget, and your budgets are just going to get bigger, and your films will get better.
We're ready to sell out. Like, it's time.
absolutely. Absolutely.
There's nothing wrong with selling out at all. So
Yeah.
I you know, everybody does it at some point. So if you don't want to sell out and just make films, just show them in your home, you know. And
let's listen. The last time I was, this is how poor we are. The last time I was in Jamie Bailey's home, we had to, just from his balcony, listen to the Taylor Swift concert, because we couldn't afford tickets to go to the Taylor Swift concert, even though we both really wanted to. But you can hear it from where he is, because he's right opposite the arena.
We had our bracelets on. We had sparkles. It was nice. That's
So
we had some rosé.
A couple of rosés, and we had, you know, we did each other's makeup, obviously. You know,
you were so broke, you had to use like a little transistor radio to try to get it in with the antenna.
No, we could hear it. We could hear it from across the road, but we knew all the words anyway, so it doesn't matter. But, you know,
you guys look like Taylor Swift fans. You really do.
We're Swifties.
Swifties, yes. Yeah, you look like it. In fact, I think I could maybe see like a poster in the background back there and some CDs.
There is.
So, you know.
On Simon's, yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Mine's Britney. You know that we've had this argument. You don't. Yeah, come on.
I only like contemporary Britney, or Instagram pics right now, or videos that she makes are so cool.
I would go see Britney in concert. Too expensive, but, you know, she's a classic. I'd go see her. So, you know, why not? You know,
John, I feel like you're missing our joke, but
John's being really serious here, you know. So it's how was it like working with kids? I love those kids at the very beginning. They were funny.
They're actually the owner's children. Fun Haven, the owners of Fun Havens. Yeah.
Okay.
They were there because contractually they had to be.
Yeah.
So even though you had to pay for the place, you still had to put the kids in.
Well, it was a nice little icing on the cake for the owner. But we shot that very quickly too. And like, we had no idea. They never acted before, obviously. We didn't know how that was going to go, but we shot all that very quickly, and we only had to do like 1 or 2 takes.
Actually, they weren't bad.
They weren't. No,
they weren't bad.
I mean, for just random, you know, street kids, they did a good job.
Yeah, I like the boy especially. I think he's funny, all full of blood. So the girl just beat the crap out of him, and you know, do you have a boyfriend? You know, date somebody your own age. You know, it's just this horrible, awkward conversation.
If you've ever had a conversation with a 5-year-old, you know that's exactly how that goes. You know, there's no rhyme or reason to it. You know, the conversation flits. You know, erratic.
Yeah, I used to work way back in the day, I used to work at a video store, you know, VHS stuff. And I remember in the kids section having a very detailed conversation about He-Man with this little kid who knew everything about He-Man, and I knew nothing. And he just would go to the boxes and tell me who each character was. And I'd be like, well, what does this character do? And we had this intellectual conversation about He-Man, and it was kind of fun. So it's you know, but it was interesting. So it's kids can be interesting, especially, you know, working with them. So I haven't had to deal with that too much.
No, I wouldn't recommend it. So if you can avoid it, definitely.
I don't have any children for that. I don't want to have that conversation with any child, so I don't have any kids. So it works here.
It's legally,
I have none either.
Not allowed near any kids, actually. So that's the real
not since the incident. No.
50 feet, 100 feet. What is it? I don't remember.
And so, so I'll start because I know you guys are busy and that you need to leave soon. So I'll start to wrap this up with some of my questions here. So I did watch Steamboat Willie. After I watched your film, I went onto YouTube and watched it because I thought, does Mickey disappear and pop back in and all that type of stuff? And I saw that it had nothing, that there was nothing. It was just the cartoon was the cartoon. Your film was your cartoon. And you had mentioned that, you know, in the movie theater with watching, you know, the film, and that the film possesses him and all of that. How is that? Because the film became public domain, that it's not part of Disney anymore? That is there a story behind? Like, could anybody watch it and they get possessed, or was it only focusing on that one person?
Well, I tell you, that answer is not in the first movie for sure, but it will be answered in the second one. There's something there.
Okay. There. Well, he seems to be a little obsessed with it anyways, because he's got the mask in the movie, and he's watching it on, you know, on film and on the projector and stuff. So
that definitely helps things. Yes, there's a reason for all this. There is a reason.
Okay.
We won't know until the sequel.
All right. Okay. And Simon, were you always going to be the killer, or was that kind of out of necessity?
Oh, he was always going to be the killer.
I was always going to be the killer. I've played a killer wearing a mask before. Where is it?
Simon is one of those actors that they almost instantly, no matter what role he gets, they say, you need to wear a mask.
Yeah.
Cover that face. Please cover the face. We like the accent, but we don't like the face.
Yeah. You have a face for radio, Simon? I'm like, I was like, okay.
Wait, things, I think, maybe.
Yeah. I was like, have you tried podcasting? And yes. I was like, with the camera off? I was like, no, I haven't. I was like, maybe try.
We never actually had that conversation when Simon had the idea of like, oh, we're going to make this movie. Mickey Mouse is going to be a killer. We never had the conversation. Well, who's going to play Mickey? It was always assumed.
It was, we had just done another movie called The Influencer, where I'd also played somebody in a mask that was taunting people, I suppose, but the bad guy in a mask. So, yeah, it wasn't knowing that the way that we make movies and that we were going to have to film stuff with Mickey later on. It always seemed easier to make it me because I would always be available. Like, actors' schedules are one thing that I hate as well. But if it's my baby, you know, sort of that would never really be an issue. So.
But Simon's kind of underselling himself too, because it isn't quite hard. As stupid as it is, you would think it'd be the easiest acting role that you could ever possibly have. You wear a mask, you hold a knife like this, but there's so much to it. There was a couple of moments on set that I just knew, and I never had this feeling with any other movie that we shot. The bit at the door when she first Alex sees Mickey for the first time. He's messing up with the chain and the smoke and the light and all that kind of stuff. There's a thing that Simon did for the first time where he just kind of tilted his head as he looks at her, and I'm filming it. I'm actually holding the camera, and I'm like, oh my god, like I feel like the world's gonna see this.
I think that was the shot that they chose, wasn't it? A lot of people that reverse silhouette. Remember? With I think they liked that.
So that is that the moment where you just went, "We got a movie. This is it. We got a movie."
Like literally in that moment, there was the head tilt, which is getting back to the fact that like there's so much little nuance in playing Mickey that Simon does very well that not many actors can do, but also too that, and then when he turns his head and you see Alex looking at him, and you just see the shadow on the wall, you see the giant ears move. I just remember in that moment, I'm like, oh shit, look, this is something. And we weren't even supposed to shoot in that corner. That corner was really shitty. Like it was kind of like
we were trying to get out, weren't we?
Yeah, we looked all over the place to find something else, and like, holy god, it was meant to be. We were supposed to film it on the first night, and we ran out of time, and thank god we did, because by the next night, completely changed how we lit it and everything, and it became one of the most iconic things, probably from the movie. That when the press played in January, the trailer, like that shot was always in it.
We made
and
we made another viral about where we had a Mickey Mouse fighting Winnie the Pooh. It's just a funny thing that we were just doing. And we had 2 stunt guys do it because we wanted to do. I'm not like a stunt guy, so we had another stunt guy doing it. It's the first time I felt like this as well. He put on the mask and he put on the jersey. The stunt guy, very talented stunt guy and everything. And it insanely bothered me because he wasn't doing it how I would do it, and I was like, like it really. I was like, and I would have been somebody of like, just put the mask on. Anyone can do it. But it would bother me now if someone else did. Like it would be like, no, there's a way to be. You can be creepy with a mask on. I can't explain it really, but there's a way to do it and there's a way not to do it. But you have to kind of feel it out in the moment, like that you're doing it. And if some people are kind of going to be able to do that and some people aren't, it's incredibly annoying if they can't. The stunt guy was good at the stunts, but he wouldn't have been able to do the intimidating bits.
yeah, even though I remember saying to him, like, tilt your head like this at one point, just wasn't the same. Just wasn't the same.
Well, you
Very
own
intangible.
It's your
Yeah.
character. You own it. That's why every Jason, is different.
Yeah, that's right. When they get the
or
same,
every
guy
Michael
back,
is different.
Michael Myers, and you remember they keep getting what's his name back. They always want the original guy back for Michael Myers. Yeah.
He didn't do it. He wasn't in 2 or 3, right?
Yeah.
The guy that played the original.
And then the big campaign to get him back to doing it, wasn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, like you always wanted Kane Hodder for Jason, and then when somebody else played Jason, it was never the same. But you could say, well, I like this guy in 2, and I like that guy in 4, and Michael, I think, was the same thing. It was, oh yeah, I kind of like this guy in this one, and that Michael in this one, and oh, they're bringing Nick Castle back or whatever it might. But it's once you establish, you want that person, and you can kind of tell when it isn't that person. So I think that's definitely what you're feeling is that you've owned that character. It's now your thing. But if you maybe make 6 or 7 of these, at some point probably somebody's gonna have to take over.
I've no desire to
pass the mask.
Yeah.
Oh, we'll be dead. We'll be dead by then for sure.
Please. Come on, Jesus, we're ready.
Yeah.
We've had a good run.
The stuff like the Crazy 8 ride and some of these other things were those just like you would go into the place and go like, okay, I could use this ride, I could use that, I could use this. We're going to write that into the script. And
very much.
Yeah, pretty much. We weren't supposed to use the roller coaster originally, but then they decided that we could.
I had another idea that I thought would have been fucking great for the roller coaster. That's someone that the guy that gets in the ride is actually strapped to the tracks, but that became far too dangerous for us to be able to do it.
Didn't we discuss that? But we couldn't. What was the reason? Was that we could? They just wouldn't allow it. They were like, no,
it was too dangerous. It was. I remember. Didn't you have to get certified because you actually pull the lever, and so
yeah, they had a whole training session I had to do, and they were like, really, I had to go and it was like 15 minutes, but I had to do it, and it had to, and there was a test, and it was like ridiculous, like as I was at school, and I was like, okay. I was like, you know what? It can be anybody if you want. Do you want to give some other guy the mask, and it can be him when he pushes the button? And I'm like, no.
Oh, thank God! Because there's in the original trailer too. There's just one moment that I just absolutely love where you pull the lever, you're like looking this way, and then you just look over. There's like a blue light right underneath you. It just looks so creepy and.
No, I'm glad I did it in the end, but I remember in the middle of the training session that it was on a day where we haven't got that much time, and I'm like, Jamie's probably stressing out of lights. He's like, all right, we're ready. I was like, yes, I'm just got to finish his training session on the road.
Yeah, see, and what you were just saying is it's a good thing you did pull the lever, because then you'd be watching it, now going, I could have done it better. He didn't do it right. Instead, he did this instead of doing it slow.
I'm not exaggerating. It would have annoyed me, but I've only really realized that later. Like when I saw the stuntman doing some stuff in something else, I was like, oh yeah, it sort of bothers me that he's not. He's doing the stunts great, but he wasn't doing anything else great, which we didn't need for anything, so it was fine. But it bothered me.
And with having to take this training, what limitations were there to shoot there? What things couldn't you do?
We couldn't put someone on the tracks. I'll tell you that much.
What about blood? Could you get blood on the floor but clean it up, or were they like, nope, no blood on the floor?
Yeah, I think we did. Yeah, we did
blood.
Yeah,
we did blood, but there was nothing too heavy on the fake blood. We didn't go crazy.
No, in laser tag we did that.
Where she gets her ankle.
Yeah, We did
Yeah.
something there. Yeah. But there wasn't too much.
Yeah, that was small.
Yeah. And then when we killed the other girl, that was in the lobby, so that was almost outside. Sort of.
So okay. All right. Well, I appreciate you guys being on here. Like I said, I know you're busy. You have things to do, so I'm going to let you take off. Thank you for being on this long. I really appreciate it. Is there anything else that you would like to tell people before we split? Anything that you would like to promote? Anything that from the past, the future? Right. I mean, what would you like to tell people?
Yeah. Check out The Mousetrap, and also What Lurks Beneath, which comes out December 13th.
And next year we have a De-Influencer 2 and 3 and Amro, a bank heist movie coming out.
Wow, a bunch of stuff to look forward to. So
Yeah.
that is just awesome. And where can people see Mousetrap? When is this extended cut coming out? I want a physical copy. I'm a physical copy guy. I don't want streaming. Will there be a physical copy?
Oh, you mean this?
Can
Well,
that's not the director's cut. That's
I grab it through the screen? I want that.
the extended cut. Sorry, I was talking about the other.
Yeah, we're not 100% sure when the director's cut's going to come out in North America. It will be out in Japan in March theatrically, and we're still working on how we're going to release it in other markets.
Okay. All right. Okay. Well, I'll be on the lookout for that. So, and where can people reach you? Where can they find out more about what you're doing?
Oh, it's on if you go to, there's a Facebook, The Mousetrap, and the Mickeyverse, or there's Instagram at The Mousetrap Film. So both of those places, if we've got anything cool to say, there's where we'll say it.
Okay.
And if you have anything bad to say, fuck off.
Yeah.
Yeah. What I mean, I am guilty of this too. I mean, I'll see independent films or even if big budget movies, and I shouldn't, I guess, criticize them because I know what it takes to make a movie, but I guess you shouldn't just be nice, right? You should, maybe criticism helps make movies better as long as it's done
John,
creatively.
Anything you can say, we've already thought of. Don't worry.
Yeah, but I just find it really interesting. Leaving this note is that, like, if you're an accountant and you do a bad number on the books, there's not some guy on the internet being like, "You suck at math."
Well, that's the thing. I don't mind constructive criticism. I did have one woman, a reviewer, say with AXEMAS, she goes, "This movie is an abortion."
Okay.
Some people
okay, but why is it an abortion?
And
did the directing
does she like abortions? Maybe it was a good thing.
Maybe it's a compliment. Did you ever think of that? Some people are fighting for the right for that.
So I'm looking at this maybe in the wrong way. So it's yeah. So I mean, I don't know. I mean, it's just, I think if it's just, well, this movie sucks, then yeah, go fuck off. But if it's, well, I didn't like this film for these reasons, I think that you could learn from it. So, and maybe that helps the filmmakers too with like, yeah, we should have done that.
Yeah,
So,
we were worried about it, but then we read a couple of reviews and they said, this movie sucks dick. And obviously, as you know, being gay now is super, super popular. So it's the new young people's way of saying it's really good.
Yeah. See, we look at things differently now. So when somebody says that, we have to look at it as a positive.
Yeah. When Bart Simpson said it's bad, that meant it was good.
Yeah. There we go. Okay. There we go. So, all right. Perfect. All right, guys. Thank you so much. Thank you, Jamie. Thank you, Simon, for being here. I really do appreciate it. I'm so happy to do this. And when all of you come back, hopefully for another film that we could discuss, if it's something you've done individually or together, I'm up for all of that. So I have other filmmakers that have come back 2 or 3 times. So I'm always up for more interviews if you're up for it. So
yeah, reach out to us. We'll do it again.
Perfect. Awesome.
Thank you, John. Thanks for having us.
All right, John.
Thank you. And thanks everybody for watching. We really appreciate it. And we'll see you on the next video. So bye, everybody. Bye.
Yep.